Good afternoon, coming to you from the Skyline Studios high above beautiful Cape Coral here in sunny Southwest Florida. We got music, we've got sunshine, and we got some great conversation coming up with our guest, Stephen Clark. I'm Ken Allman, and this is the Endless Summer Podcast. So here at the Endless Summer Podcast, we talk about music, the bar scene, and other local happenings in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. But mostly we want to tell the stories of the singers and songwriters that make Southwest Florida a great place to hear live music and some very talented people. Before we get into the conversation with our guest today, Stephen Clark, big shout out to our sponsor, Dockside Juicery. Located right here in Cape Harbor, they offer amazing juices and smoothies, wellness bites, avocado toast, wellness shots, and a whole lot more. Stop by down there at the Dockside Juicery and say hello to Damon and Raina. I promise you will not be disappointed. All right, so living in Southwest Florida is really like being in the summer. And with that comes some great live music, which brings me to today's guest, Mr. Stephen Clark.
How you doing?
Sir.
Hey, thank you so much.
Glad to have you today. We're very excited. Quite a background. I've been doing some homework on you, obviously, and amazing stuff. Nothing bad came up in the Google search, but I know I was going to ask you the question if you're a native Floridian,
right? But
of course, we're still batting 1,000. We haven't met one yet.
Well, is there one?
Is there one? That's a great question. Yeah,
they call them unicorns.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
I learned two things about Florida. Nobody's from Florida, and everybody has a side hustle.
Yeah, but that's pretty much how it works there.
Hustle,
exactly.
But Stephen's an amazing songwriter, singer, and also spent a ton of time in broadcasting. So tell us a little bit about your career and your life.
All right. So I did 40 years in television as a news anchor, but I'm cured. It's okay now. I got past that.
And you can't hear that in his voice at all.
No. People tell me, it says, my wife will say, use your inside voice. And I said, this is my inside voice. So it's been the way it's been. So yeah, I did 40 years as a television news anchor. But before that, when I was in high school, my dream was to be a musician.
Oh, okay.
I was going to be a jazz player because I played jazz saxophone. So that was what I was going to do. I went to college and I got into both the University of Northern Colorado, and I got accepted into both the typical classical music school and the jazz school.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So I played saxophone, but I got kind of waylaid by the bright lights and flashing dials and stuff of radio. So I started doing some radio classes, and I started taking some journalism classes. Next thing you know, I'm a journalist. And then I kind of put the music on the back burner for a bunch of years, like 40. Although I've always kind of touched on it. I switched to guitar and songwriting, which was a form of journalism. And when I got out of television back in 2017, I started playing a lot more. And now I'm now a beach bum troubadour. I'm happy to return to my musical roots.
Sounds like we're living the same life here. I love it. We are. Absolutely loving that. So when did you actually start playing out professionally? When you actually get paid?
Well, oddly enough, I never played a single bar gig at all until I came to Florida about 2 years ago. Okay. Now I like last season I was going nuts playing like 5-6 nights a week. So for me that is all new, playing like the paid cover band bar gig. Yeah. Now playing public I've been doing for years and years and years as a songwriter. So I had a place in Nashville, and I'd spent a lot of time in Nashville doing songwriter nights and writers rounds, Bluebird Cafe, writing room, places like that, where it was all my originals. All I ever played was just originals, ever. And then when I was on television as a news anchor, I would get invited a lot to play benefits.
Oh, okay.
So I'd go play a lot of benefits in town, but I always played originals. I'd play my own originals, and then boom, and that was done. So I've been playing a lot of years, but professionally, not until 2 years ago.
A couple years ago. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I've listened to some of your stuff. We're going to talk more about that too, because I love, especially the Hurricane Ian song. We'll actually, maybe if we're lucky, you'll play that for us.
If I can remember it.
You're playing out now in a couple places like Lighthouse and some of the what's the other place in Bonita?
I'll play the Island House in Bonita Springs. I have a friend of mine from Michigan who owns it, and so they've turned it into kind of a Michigan bar. So if you're from Michigan, although we do accept people from Chicago and other places, but if you're from Michigan, Ohio, you can't go. No, but
that's Ohio.
Everybody's welcome.
Wow. So I see you have a Taylor. And favorite instrument? Is that
It's a Taylor. My first Taylor guitar I bought from Bob Taylor.
Oh, wow.
Because I lived in San Diego at the time, and Taylor guitars are made out of San Diego. And I had a friend who worked there, and he says, "Come on, you got to go buy a Taylor guitar," because I was playing an old Epiphone. And so I went in, and Bob Taylor came in and personally sold me my first Taylor guitar, and I've been hooked. I have 3 Taylor guitars now.
That's nice. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I've never had a Taylor or a Martin, but I played several on there. I have an old Yamaha, it's 20-some years old, but it's beautiful acoustic.
Yeah.
You know, great. A good wood guitar just has that full sound. I absolutely love it. Do you play elsewhere outside of Florida? Like, are you playing back in Michigan?
I do play it. As a matter of fact, just yesterday I booked 2 shows in Michigan for December, and because I really miss cold, miserable, snowy, gray, slushy winters.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm going back to Michigan for, I think we're going to do one on December 22nd. I can't really announce it yet because we haven't solidified it.
Sure.
It's one I do pretty much every year at a place called 20 Front Street. So that's as much as I can tell you about it right now. And then I also opened what's called the Howell Opera House Acoustic Series. It's literally an old 1800s opera house that they're restoring, and they've been raising money for years. I open their acoustic series every year, and we raise money to help build that.
So is it an opera house per se, where it's like?
It's like the old style. It's like if you're watching an old John Wayne Western, and they all go into the saloon, and then they go upstairs into the opera. That's kind of how it is. It's a pretty cool place, but we don't actually play in the opera house because it's not finished yet.
Okay.
But we play downstairs in a big room downstairs, and it's a fun show. It's me, 2 hours of just me, and I only do originals. So.
Oh man.
So that'll be January 5th. I just booked it this morning.
We will forward those posts from the Endless Summer podcast channels
Thank you.
as we get them. Absolutely, we'll let people know. What about influences? I listened to some of the songs. I would say they had a bit of a country flair.
Yes, because I did the Nashville thing for a lot of years. I mean, I started going to Nashville about 30 years ago, and I'd go about once a year.
Okay.
Get a motel room, and I'd just stay there, and I'd just try to meet writers, try to play the writers' rounds and stuff. And then about 9-10 years ago, my wife and I bought an apartment in downtown Nashville. Oh, wow. I called it my man cave because that's where I just went and I hung out and I drank bourbon and played guitar and got to meet a lot of people.
Did you go to any studios in Nashville?
Yeah, I recorded 2 albums.
Okay.
One album I recorded entirely at a place called Jay's Place, which is on Music Row. It's really one of the few studios still on Music Row.
Actually on Music Row, yeah.
And so Jay Verne runs the place, great guy, producer and stuff like that. And so I did my first album totally at his place. Then a second album, I had a guy named Ilya Tushinsky, who's like played with every single big name in Nashville. Oh. He's a Russian banjo player. So oldest story in the book, Russian banjo player.
Wow.
But the guy he could play anything with strings.
I wonder if he does that part in Big and Rich Save a Horse.
He could.
That's a cool banjo player.
He might have done that because he is
possible.
phenomenal. So anyway, he produced 2 or 3 songs on my second album. And then I did 1 or 2 songs, I think, out of Detroit. And then I did, I put that album together more kind of piecemeal from different places.
Okay. And I know some of the songs are available actually on the website, but, which we'll give you the URL for that later. But where else can you find, like Spotify, SoundCloud?
Yeah, I'm on all, as I tell people, I have no idea where I am, but I just tell people it's all the places you find music. You can find me, so search Stephen Clark, it's P-H-E-N, Stephen. Right. And you'll find about 10 different Stephen Clarks. There's some guy that's got a Superman shirt on, he plays flute. That's not me. But his name is Stephen Clark, so I'm not that one.
I should Google myself and see what comes up.
Sure, yeah,
you never
exactly,
know. You never know. But what else would you like the audience to know? I know your wife lives down here, right, with you? You have kids?
Yes, I've got. My wife is from New Zealand. We married 37 years ago. If I'm wrong, honey, I'm sorry. I think it's 37 years.
That's awesome.
And we have 2 daughters. One lives in Denmark. She's married to what I call the Great Dane, Christian. So she lives in Denmark, and my other daughter lives still in Commerce Township, Michigan. Okay. And she has 2 kids, including Scarlett, who's now almost 11 years old. And those who know me know Scarlett. She was born with a genetic muscular condition that has left her in a wheelchair.
Aww.
But I tell you, she is a phenomenal, intelligent, bright, funny girl. I wrote a song about her called I Will Walk For You, which is tattooed on my arm.
Oh, very nice.
And we ended up, my wife and I raised about $1.5 million and built a playground in Michigan that's become like the biggest, awesome. Absolutely no barriers playground. So many, you take a second to plug this. So many of these playgrounds that are called no barrier or barrier free or all access playgrounds, what they do is they take a regular big old playground for kids, and they're great. They got all the climbing things and the swings and all that kind of stuff. But then they'll, over in the corner, someplace way over here, they'll put a couple things for the kids in wheelchairs.
Okay.
Which was okay.
Right.
But my granddaughter sat there in her little part of the playground watching all the other kids over there playing.
Right.
And she didn't want to do that. She wanted to play with the other kids. So my wife and I sat down and said, there's got to be a better way. So how hard is it to raise $1.5 million? So we did that, and we built this playground that is now one of the largest ramped playgrounds in America. And people from all over the country now go visit this playground because kids in wheelchairs and kids not in wheelchairs all can play together. It's a phenomenal, and it's in Commerce Township, Michigan.
That is awesome. Hey, Scarlett, if you're out there listening, and if you see this, we're thinking about you. And if you ever come to Florida, come hang out with us.
She'll come in October. We bring her down here at least 2 or 3 times a year.
I would like to meet her.
All right, we'll do.
Absolutely like to meet her. So, wow. So, yeah, so a lot of things outside. So you got the family, like I said, you got the children, obviously, and you've been down here, but you also still have the place in Nashville?
Sold the place in Nashville, and kind of a funny story about that. We literally sold the place in Nashville for I mean, it takes a few days either side, but the 28th of September. The date may sound familiar to you. That's the day Ian hit. And so I had actually been to Nashville to put some things in a trailer to get them out of the apartment in Nashville and to get them here. And I literally drove into the eye of the hurricane coming this direction with stuff from Nashville about the day before. And so I unloaded the trailer all into my garage. Well, we got 18 feet of water, so it all got ruined in the garage.
Oh, man.
So it's just like, fortunately, all my guitars I had taken upstairs. So the guitars were safe. We're good.
And how's the house? Are you recovering?
We're don't get me started, but it's a long story with permits and stuff like that. But anyway,
I've heard that.
our top 2 floors were not damaged, and the bottom floor was wiped out, but it's not that where you live, It's where all the other stuff is. So once we got the pool back up and running, my boat got crushed by 18 feet of water. So I got a new boat and I fixed my boathouse. So we're getting back to normal. We got the landscaping fixed and stuff. We're just waiting to get permits so we can put siding back on the house, basically.
Wow.
So anyway, don't get me started on the whole permit.
I was lucky, obviously. I lost some balcony screens in my fan.
Yeah, well, you're kind of up off the water here.
Yeah. I figured if the water comes up this
you weren't in here watching it, were you?
I was.
Oh, man, that would have been something.
I figured if the water came up this side, we got a bigger problem.
Yeah, you better start gathering up animals 2 by 2 on that.
Exactly. No, I lost a few balcony screens and the fan. But I felt this was the safest place to stay because this building was built in '08, so it's hurricane.
Oh, yeah, and our house was the same thing.
All hurricane glass back here.
Yeah.
So I tell you, watching those flecks was very, very scary.
Oh, yeah.
I still felt like I was in the safest place. So
I wish I would have come over here.
Yeah, you should have come over. Except that we had to climb.
The elevator's probably out and stuff.
For 2 weeks, but well, I'm glad you're recovering and getting back.
Yep. Everything's getting back to normal.
Fort Myers Beach is still.
It's a mess.
Greatest shape. It's a mess.
It's a mess. It's a mess. But there are bars open, and one of the other things I did is right after the storm, I raised $35,000 in a GoFundMe campaign to pay musicians to play. So even before anything was open, I was paying musicians just to stand on street corners and play. Just because people just needed. I called it the soundtrack of our comeback. Awesome. So people could stand around and just get a little reprise from that. And then I started paying when the bars started opening. They couldn't pay performers because they weren't making any money either. Right. So I started saying, well, I'll pay the performers, you go ahead and make money until you can afford it, and now they can pay them themselves. So.
It's really nice to see the some of the places popping up now and coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Myers Beach, like the places you play.
Yep.
Root Shrimp is another one that's coming back.
And they're now at Moss Marina, and I helped fund a concert series at Moss Marina back in the early days of the recovery.
And Wahoo Willie's
is open, so I played Wahoo Willie's a bunch of times.
There's another place there that's on the water. It's a little down a little further. The Junker.
Well, the Junkaroo moved actually to my end of the island, so we're on the south end of Fort Myers Beach, which is an island, Barrier Island, and they got wiped out. Junkanoo and the Fresh Catch Bistro were wiped out. So they ended up buying another restaurant down at it's called Fishtail Marina, right near my house. Now they operate that there.
Nice.
But I paid for music there too.
Yeah, it's good to see him coming back though. Absolutely, it's definitely good to see him coming back. And so you wrote a song which I listened to on the internet, which I thought was great, and it was about Hurricane Ian. So how about sharing it with us?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I mean, after the storm, I think every songwriter is trying to figure out something to write about it. Because, you write what you know, and at that time, that's all we knew.
And what's this called?
It's called Ian, which is, I tried to come up with a name for it. And the funny thing about Ian is I never mentioned Ian in the song itself. For actually on purpose. I said, I don't
deserve recognition.
He doesn't deserve the recognition.
He does not. Ian does not deserve recognition. So this is Ian?
This is the song Ian, yeah.
And this is Mr. Stephen Clark.
Late September, storm rolled in, 20 feet of water and a freight train wind. People should have left, but some folks stayed. Now water just washed them away. This old town ain't never gonna be the same. Shake your fist at the sky, but there's no one to blame. Even God can't hear you when the sky turns to lead and the water rises higher than a tall man's head. I swear the window cool when that hot wind blows. Your home disappears in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico. Sun comes up, it's a beautiful day, except everything is gone, everything has changed. Piles of people's lives dragged into the street like so much trash in the Florida heat. The president flies down, shakes some hands, says some words on TV, and then he flies off again. Even God can't hear you when that sky turns to lead and the water rises higher than a tall man's head. You swear the devil's screaming when that hot wind blows. Your home disappears in the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico. We'll be back, and it won't take too long, 'cause we're all half crazy and Florida strong.
Yes.
Even God can't hear you when the sky turns to lead and the water rises higher than a tall man's head. And you swear the devil's screaming when that hot wind blows. Your home disappears in the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, your home disappears in the Gulf of Mexico. Where the hell do we go?
Getting all choked up here.
Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Julian Sunby out of Fort Myers. Did a recording on that. He's got a studio in Fort Myers.
Okay.
And did a recording on that. Beautiful. It's available on iTunes, the song itself. Plus, I did a music video, which was on Facebook for a couple months. And it got, I think I got close to 250,000 hits on it, on the video. And then Facebook took it down. And they said it violated community standards.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What about that song? I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, I was bad mouthing hurricanes, and you're just not supposed to do that. So.
You just can't do that.
Can't do that.
Well, you can catch Stephen at the Island House in Bonita Springs. Right?
Pretty much every Friday. I'm booking for the season now, but Friday nights out. I call it TV Stevie's Party on the Patio. I'm TV Stevie. Party on the Patio. Friday nights.
And then also at the Lighthouse in Fort Myers Beach.
Yeah, I'm playing scatter dates right now. We're still trying to work out a solid date as the season comes around. So I'll try to get like a day where I can be there every week on that day.
Gotcha.
Which makes it easy to find me and stuff. And I put all the dates on my website and stuff like that.
Awesome. So you can also catch Stephen Clark, obviously, on Facebook at Stephen Clark. Mm-hmm. And then he's got a website at stephenclark.tv.
Yes, Stephen Clark. And Stephen again is S-T-E-P-H-E-N. No E-N Clark. Right. Stephen Clark, and I'm not the guy with the Superman shirt and the flute.
That's right, not the guy with the Superman. And yeah, so he's stephenclark.tv. And his music is out there, and it's also on Spotify and SoundCloud and all the other.
Yeah, every place you find your music.
You would find music,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I even have a CD if you got a CD player.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody got those?
I think I actually have one down there.
Wow, you're the guy.
I just still have one, yeah. And don't forget to check out the Endless Summer YouTube channel because that's where we're going to post this podcast, obviously, and we'll have others. And we also post it on the Endless Summer Podcast Facebook channel. So, but until then, we'll see you in a couple of weeks with another great guest. And from the Skyline Studios here in Cape Coral, first of all, big thanks.
Hey, thank you so much, Ken. Appreciate it.
Great meeting you and great having you here. And I'm excited. I'll be posting more of your info and we'll send it out to everybody. And
let's form a band. We need to be in a band together.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's be in a band.
Talk about it. We'll talk about it after we're done. So, in the meantime, I am Ken Ullman, and this is the Endless Summer Podcast. Enjoy your summer in Southwest Florida, and thanks for watching.